Okay, I'm not sure what this piece looked like when I last left it, but it didn't look anything like this. I've got a whole lot more, let me loosen that up, a whole lot more negative space in here. I've got my negative space knocked through here, 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 and right here. I think I'm going to take all this out, but we'll see how that goes. And this is going to be the base. I'm going to work on this right now. What I'm trying to do is I'm going to turn this where I can see it. You'll see what I'm doing. Couple reasons I didn't video the other stuff. I was learning what to do, and that's a lot of sitting there saying, oh well, I'm going to use this gouge now and that gouge there, and so I wasn't sure. Also, that gets distracting to me, so hate I didn't get all that videoed, but I just didn't. Also had weather change. It's kind of fall weather now, which is good. Makes it a little more comfortable out here in the shop. And again, even in here, I'm using as big of a gouge as I can. This was originally punched through with a drill. Again, this is a piece from the Jeff Ferris class, and he just took a drill and drilled some holes. He does more of a solid piece down there, and I know that gives more support, but I kind of like the negative space in this piece. That's what I was thinking about doing from the word go, so that's what I'm going to do. Got a show coming up in about 2 weeks, and I want this to be my real showpiece, the best piece, you know, that I've got. So I'm going to try to get it finished. When I do that, I will say that it was a class project. I don't think it's right to do something in a class and then just sell it and not let people know, hey, that's a class project. And the class came in handy for me because I've got that piece of old cedar that I started, that cedar post, and they wanted a American Indian face on it, and so I had this class. That's really the reason I took the class, to say, oh, I'll get me some pointers here. And when I'm doing that, when I get it this close, I'm doing this, and I'm using this hand to tell about the thickness as I work away on the inside. And it's a delicate balance, is leaving as much as you can for strength and taking out as much as you can for the negative spaces. Okay, now I'll show you the back. Made several different marks on. I think I'd like to come in just a little bit more. See how that'll look. I think I'm going to wait on moving that in anymore, but I do need to smooth the back. I've cut this in here with different size gouges, and I think I want a gouge for the final cut in there, not necessarily a beat tool. I don't want a sharp transition of form on that. On the bottom part. And on this, I'm just keep cutting until I get that cut out, and it'll change this part over here. Make it curve around a little more. I'm still removing big chunks of wood with a pretty good size chisel here, or gouge, sweep, whatever you want to call it. And so I have to watch so that, that's not what I wanted. Have to kind of watch it so that I don't get, maybe that is what I wanted. When I'm holding the head up here and end up breaking off, snapping that in two, because of where I thinned it out so much. And this guy's looking, I want to get the front, this side needs to come out more. He's kind of looking off to the side, so when you look at the front, the base is going to be a head-on shot, or straight on. And I'll show you what I mean. Got a lot of more work there. Well, you can't even see what I'm doing. But like the base, it's going to be straight. His face is looking off to the side. Instead of having the face straight on, the base is going to be straight on. He's looking out over that way. So, I'll do a little more work on the base. By the base, I mean this part. I've left this together, so that's holding it up. That's giving a lot of support. Man, I just think that's about as small as I want to get that. And I'm turning this this big sweep over, and that's how I'm smoothing this off. I don't sand a whole lot, but I will sand this smooth. I think that'll look good. But the smoother I can carve it, the less sanding I have to do. I know more about where I want to quit carving than where I want to quit sanding, so I prefer to do all of this by gouge work if I could, or chisel work. But it is a wood carving, so there's that. And right around here is where you change from the grain being able to cut this direction and having to turn and cut down. So once you start pulling and tearing stuff, you're going the wrong way, as they say in planes, trains, and automobiles. This little wormhole right here goes all the way through it. I don't know if I can get that on camera, but it goes in like that and it comes out over here. Just smoothing this off, and it brings about a whole nother discussion on finishing when I'm talking about sanding, to sand or not to sand. And I'm a minimalist on sanding, but again, like some spots in there, just it looks good sanded smooth. So as I work on this part more and more, I'll decide. I like leaving tool marks on most of my stuff, but again, just depending on what parts it is. I'll think the faces and stuff look good with tool marks and the base and another part not so much. Got a few little what I call starting stuttering there, chattering lines, just a little. And I'll go over and rebuff my tools a lot doing this, because all of these cuts need to be just super clean. Chisels, the gouges that you're using need to be super sharp. And it's a lot more like doing shaving than it is, or scraping, more than it is carving big chunks out. So that's also why sometimes I don't think it's good to video. Kind of monotonous. I mean, y'all are sitting there saying, yeah, we get it. We know how to do that, but okay, after that, we just move down a size or a couple of sizes. This is a Swiss 1110. Also, I found out in that class that the numbering system on these chisels are not universal. Every company, like a number 11 for one company may not be the same number 11 for another company. So when I'm telling you what gouge I'm using, that's a guideline. It's not a just use what you've got. And after a time, you'll begin to get an eye for the way the grain changes as you use these tools. And they'll kind of tell you when to start and stop using them. And here I'm just making an undercut. I want this part here to look like it's sitting on top of this block like a separate piece of wood, even though it's of the same piece. I think that'll give an interesting look to it, because if it looks like it's another piece of wood just sitting on top of one, but yet you'll see the grain and you'll know it's all one piece of wood, I think that'll make for a good base. Interesting side note, this is one of those areas where I'm using tools that I seldom use. I've got, I don't know, 5 or 6 tools that do 90% of the work, and then got these drawer full of other tools that just at a time like this is when I need that one particular size. some point you just have to stop and say, all right, that's enough. But I don't think I'm there yet. But it is close. I think this is near the end for this base part because I think that's about where I want it. I think I do have a round V-tool that I'm going to use to go in this. But I'm going to work the base down. And I'll just show you here in a minute or two what I mean by that. But and again, that right there is what I didn't want to do, is crack a bunch of that off. But I did. I'll fix it. That's why your tools need to be real sharp. Always. Clean carving sure looks good. So I've got this skew chisel, one of my Cudgelo chisels, and what I meant by working the base down, I want it to be kind of going up to, I want my base, what I'm calling the base, this part, to be slanted up to this base. So I'm going to work around that, and that's all I'm going to do with that, is just trim that down. And I don't know how perfectly smooth I'll work at getting it. I think I do want it to be flat, but I'm just going to do that, so I'm going to not tape that for just a tad. Be back in a few minutes.